Peer Gynt? Peer Gynt?
Who are you?
You are a slippery eel, Peer Gynt. Don't you know me? We're old acquaintances.
3 days ago, ladies and gentlemen, 3 days ago, on the 20th of March, the man whom we are honoring here tonight reached a moment in his life which all of us have come to celebrate. 3 days ago, ladies and gentlemen, Ibsen was 70.
I'm in a hurry.
As you always were. But I will trudge behind you, and I will catch you in the end. One day I will.
Henrik Ibsen, your plays are performed throughout the Western world. You are acclaimed as the playwright of most influence since Shakespeare, as a man whose fame is equaled by none.
Have you forgotten?
What are you talking about?
Your promises. Child, give him a drink. Give your father a drink. I'm sure he needs it.
Are you implying?
Go on, use your eyes. Look hard. Can't you see? Can't you see he's lame? Like you are in the mind.
You ugly bitch.
Is it my fault if I'm not as pretty as I was when you seduced me?
So now, ladies and gentlemen, now, I ask you to stand and raise your glasses to the greatest writer Norway has ever known, Henrik Ibsen. Ibsen.
Such promises. They called you a bastard too when you were young. Frightened you were. And yet you half believed them, wanted to. Not to become a drunk like your father, your bankrupt father. Didn't you remember that when you lay in the gutter? Oh yes, you must have been so scared. And then those other girls you longed for, but never had the guts to love. Too frightened of what people said, would say. Where did your life go, Henrik Ibsen? 5 shillings, they said you gave that girl. Her son, too, when he came to you. Your son. She died in poverty and blind.
Courage. I think if I had to use one word to define what he achieved, it would be that. His courage in challenging accepted ideas and conventional morality.
And making the theatre a living place again.
Oh, maybe in 1880. Hardly today. I mean, the tedium of all those dark Norwegian drawing rooms and secrets no one talks about. Closet smell, Mary McCarthy calls it.
But who else before Ibsen gave dialogue on the stage such intensity of meaning?
Or look so hard at human relationships.
And all this without high drama or tears or blood or daggers. And yet at the time, the effect of his plays on an audience was like dynamite.
Really? The play was not only foul and indecorous, it was dull. That was the Daily Telegraph.
Oh, writing reviews for Maiden Arts. And 80 years ago. Shaw supported him. Oscar Wilde. Wilde said he was as good as the Greeks.
Even though his plays were about ordinary people in ordinary language. And that was another of his innovations.
Oh, I'd hardly call trolls and white horses ordinary language.
Well, some people accused him of being too prosaic.
Some people accused him of being too provincial. Ibsen is parochial, and not of a very large or distinguished parish. He is in that parish a frequenter, chiefly, of hospital and asylum.
The silence here, the emptiness when I began my career. Often when I was abroad, it seemed as if I'd never been here, nor my work. But now, the place is full of young, confident spirits. Now, they've a public they can write for. They're not limited to some small, restricted circle. It matters little whether they find acceptance or opposition. What destroys a writer is indifference. Shut minds. That's what I encountered. I'm deeply sorry that I have made so little personal contact with these new writers. But one thing I would have wanted to put you right on, you gentlemen, one misconception. And that is the idea that international fame necessarily brings happiness. True inner happiness is not as simple as that. It's earned at a price. And the price can often be heavy. The real point is that a man who's won a home for himself in many different lands can still feel in his heart of hearts that he's nowhere at home. Not even in his native land. Yet this could still happen. I shall think of this evening as a beginning.
Anyone who wants to understand me must know Norway. The landscape, the life, shut off. Houses that lie so separate and distant. The people forced into their own concerns, their brooding, doubt, often despair. In Norway, every second man is a philosopher. And the dark winters, the thick mists, oh, how they long then for the sun.
You could say it was the sun that made Ibsen a writer. He'd failed in Norway and gone to the south, to Italy. And from then on, he began the vast series of plays that indeed made him Norway's greatest writer. He'd left when he was 36, went back to Norway at the age of 63, 27 years of exile, self-imposed. And then in 1898, he was 70, and for close on 2 months, there were birthday celebrations in Norway and in Denmark and in Sweden. But by now, the plays he was writing had become very dark, and ideas were forming for a final drama, When We Dead Awaken, the story of an elderly man who's racked with guilt about the past, a sculptor, though it could well have been a writer. And so those celebrations must have been both welcome and ironic, a contrast between open fame and inner disappointment, apparent public courage and a sense of private cowardice, a dialogue. And through this dialogue, the events of those 4 weeks in 1898, his plays, the ideas that he put in them, the words of critics and admirers, we tell the story of this man who did indeed transform the whole life of the stage.
Because, you see, the theatre then was like grand opera. I mean, nobody in their right mind, no serious writer, would have dreamt of writing for it.
I mean, what sort of thing was put on in Norway when he first started? His first important job was as a theatre director in Bergen. Well, there's no Greeks, no Shakespeare, no Molière. It's melodrama, French farce, sentiment. Writers like Scribe and Labiche. Yet the Italian straw hat is about the only thing of that period that ever gets on the stage today.
And everything played against backcloths. And furniture actually painted on the scenery. And no lighting to speak of. The Bergen Theatre used candles.
Well, what can you expect of a country? There's practically no literature of its own. In any case, it's subservient to Denmark for everything to do with culture.
Precisely. And here is this man who, as far as we're concerned, created Norwegian literature, Norwegian drama, virtually single-handed.
And took enormous care over what he wrote. He produced draft after draft until it was exactly what he wanted. Perhaps that's why there's such an astonishing consistency in the writing. It's extraordinary quality, especially in the last plays.
I think he wrote 26 plays in all. That's quite a large output.
It's hardly surprising.
Why not?
Well, he had time to write, and he was married to a woman who did everything she could to protect him from interruptions. And I may be wrong, but it seems to me that he hardly showed his gratitude by any sort of real generosity. I mean, I get the impression they lived an extremely miserable life. See his account books, the detail. It's more like the work of a petty clerk than a dramatic poet.
Oh, no, that's not true. He wasn't mean. It was just that he was cautious at the start of his career because he was paid so little.
Well, there was hardly any law of copyright to protect him as there would be today.
Well, he was certainly careful with his money.
It may have been also because his father went bankrupt, and he knew what that could do within a family.
And since you mention his wife, Susanna, well, I agree she might have been able to protect him, but it couldn't have been a particularly joyful marriage, later on at least. Who was it who said that they lived in suburban silence, two absolutely lonely people?
They must have shadowed those last plays he wrote, the feeling that he'd missed out on life. It's interesting, he was going to call his last play The Day of Resurrection, but he changed it to something far more dark and tentative. When We Dead Awaken.
Listen. Listen how I've shown myself. In the foreground, beside a stream, sits a man weighed down with guilt. I call him remorse. Remorse for a forfeited life. He sits there, dips his fingers into the water to wash them clean, and he is tormented by the thought that he will never, never succeed. Never in all eternity will he free himself and be given resurrection.
It went well?
Yes.
There are telegrams.
Ah, thank you.
I suppose there's one from Fräulein Bardach. They asked me to sit with you at Master Builder tomorrow. I said no, you should sit alone.
But I think it would be proper if we were together.
No. This is your evening. I have nothing to do there.
As you wish.
I shall go to bed. You won't write? They said they would come and fetch us to the theatre. And... nothing.
Ibsen and Susanna had been married for 40 years. This is the only photograph of the two of them together, and even here she sits apart. She was the daughter of a Dean of Bergen, respectable, reliable, a supporter of women's rights. But she hadn't been Ibsen's first love. There'd been a girl he'd been half engaged to, but her father disapproved, and Ibsen hadn't had the courage to stand up to him. Skien was where Ibsen was born, in 1828, a little port in eastern Norway. The family, once prosperous, lived first in town, but moved out to this farm when Ibsen's father, a merchant, lost all his money and took to drink. What's more, his mother completely withdrew into herself, and there was even talk that Ibsen wasn't his father's real son. At 15, the boy left school and home for a town in the south to earn his living as jack-of-all-trades in this apothecary's shop. Here he wrote poetry, he even wrote a play, but most of all he painted, and a painter was what he wanted to be, or failing that, a doctor. The landscape of Norway, which he painted, the landscape he'd always remember. And one particular event from that time as well, a girl he slept with, 10 years his elder, who bore him a child, for whom he paid paternity costs till the boy was 14, though the story goes he got short shrift when he turned up later on in Ibsen's life. Norway, the capital, 1850. Christiania, now Oslo. Ibsen went there to study, failed to matriculate, but lived a student's life, wrote articles, these are his own cartoons, and even got a play of his produced. And on the strength of this, he got a job at Bergen, a new Norwegian theatre. He wrote for them, directed. These are the notes he made for actors' moves. He even designed the costumes. But the job didn't work. The plays he wrote were hardly great successes, plays about Norwegian myth, Norwegian history. In any case, Ibsen was far too shy to direct. All the same, he managed to transfer to a theatre in Christiania and to marry Susanna, whom by now he'd met, and settle down to family life. An only son was born, called Sigurd. But things went no better there. He made no money. These are joke banknotes he drew for his wife. The public, the theatre, rejected most of what he wrote, and he took to drink like his father, ended up in the gutter once. He was hardly young. He was 36. Then suddenly success. A play of his applauded. The government gave him a grant, and he answered by quitting the theatre and Norway. He left for Rome and the sun, and a writing career that would bring him back in the end to the theatre, and the series of successes that led to Master Builder and beyond. Astonishing, the choice of that play for Ibsen's birthday gala. Embarrassing even, for most people assumed it was based on himself and his marriage, by now pretty joyless. And the girl who arrives in the play and attracts the older man was identified as the first of a series of girls Ibsen fell for in later life. Emilia Bardach, a girl from Vienna the Ibsens met on holiday. He sent her letters, photographs, and promised her castles in the air. But he never was unfaithful. He never left Susanna. However tense their marriage, he neither had the courage nor the callousness to break.
Not a glint of the sun ever enters this home. Not a glimmer of light.
This is no home, Halbert.
That's right. And God knows you may be right when you say it won't be any different in a new house.
Never. It'll be just as empty and just as desolate there as it is here.
Then why on earth have we built it? Can you tell me that?
No, that you must answer yourself.
What do you mean by that, Helena?
What do I mean?
Yes, damn it, you said it so strangely, as if you meant something else.
No, I assure you.
You always manage to find some sly hidden meaning even in my most innocent remarks, don't you?
Do I, Halbert? Do I do that?
Oh, it's very natural when you have a sick man to cope with.
Sick? Are you sick?
Madman, then lunatic. Call me what you like.
Oh, for God's sake, Halbert.
This terrible burden of debt.
But you're not in debt to anyone.
Endlessly in debt to you. To you, Helena.
What is behind this?
There's nothing behind it. I've never done you any wrong. Not knowingly, not deliberately. And yet I feel weighed down by a great crushing sense of guilt.
Guilt? Towards me?
Towards you most of all.
Then you really are sick?
Yes, I must be sick. Or something. Ah, now there's more light.
Good morning, Master Builder.
Sulnes, the master builder, the artist, willful, sensual still, in love with youth, and yet frightened it might usurp his supremacy, sure that his art has destroyed his family, his home, his ordinary happiness, at a stalemate in his work. The girl Hilda, whom she claims he kissed, almost made love to as a child, and promised the whole world come to claim it, to draw him from his wife, to get him to build a castle in the air with her, to prove it by climbing to the top of the spire of the new Sulnes house, as she saw him do once before, to lay the final wreath. Sulnes, who's terrified of heights.
Why have you come?
Because I want my kingdom. It's time. Oh, give me my kingdom, Master Builder. Come on, give it me.
Why have you come? Seriously, now what do you want?
I want to look at everything you've built.
Then you'll have a lot to see.
Churches. Churches with spires?
I don't build church spires anymore, nor churches.
Then what do you build now?
Homes for people to live in.
Couldn't you put spires on them too?
What do you mean?
Something that points right up into the air, with a weathercock high up on top, so high it makes you giddy.
Strange. Strange you should say that. I want to do that more than anything.
Then why don't you?
People don't want it.
No?
But I'm building a new house for myself. It's just opposite. And on that, there's a spire.
High.
Yes.
Very high.
People will say too high for a house.
Are you glad, Master Builder, I've come?
It's strange. The more I think about it, the more it seems as though for years I've been torturing myself.
Go on.
Trying to identify some event I must have forgotten. It's good you've come to me.
Is it?
I've been so alone, helpless, staring at everything. I am glad you've come to me at this time. I've begun to be afraid. Afraid of youth.
Youth? Is youth something to be afraid of?
Yes, it is. I tell you, one of these days, youth will come here, beat on my door and force his way in.
Then I think you should go out and open up.
Open the door.
And let youth in as a friend.
No. That means retribution. Change, new banners, and...
Master Builder, can you use me?
Use you?
Can you find some use for me?
Yes. Yes. Yes, now I can. Youth against youth. You're fighting under a new banner, too, aren't you?
Are you telling the truth?
You're the very one I've needed, most of all.
Oh, that is good.
It is.
Yes. Now I have my kingdom.
Oh, Hilda.
Almost. He's climbing.
It's Albert. Oh, God, my God.
Don't shout. There he is, right at the top.
I can't bear to look.
Don't watch, Fru Solis. Don't look.
That's how I've seen him all these years. How sure he stands there. Look, now he's hanging the wreath on the spire.
I can't believe it.
I hear a song, a mighty song. Now he's waving his hat. He's waving to us down here. Oh, wave back to him. He's done it at last. He's done it. Sulness, Sulness, the master builder.
Stop it. Stop it.
He's falling.
Insensibility of youth, the force that gives them. Youth in search of excitement is more dangerous than a lion in one's path. Bernard Shaw.
And I think that girl is the pagan in us, what's uncontrolled in human nature. I think that's what Ibsen meant whenever he talked about trolls or Vikings or devils, any power that threatens civilized behaviour.
Miss Bardark, I presume.
Oh. Well, there's certainly a feeling of irrationality in Master Builder. And that's what attracted Henry James. He came to it again and again, largely because of the odd spell it had.
The reason Henry James went back to Master Builder was because of his passion for the leading lady. True. But actually, I do agree. Odd is the word for it. I'd almost be inclined to say disjointed. To quote Mary McCarthy again, the play, it's more like the result of several writers throwing out ideas at a script conference than a finished play. All those loose ends and references to the past and strange feelings and things half remembered.
But the ambiguity is precisely what's good about it. And in any case, Ibsen had been interested for a long while in hypnotism and the way that some people have an unexplained power over others.
Oh, all right. But what grates really most of all is the symbolism. I mean, everybody knows nowadays what is meant by tall towers and old men's inability to climb them.
Well, actually, Ibsen said that he was writing about real people and their inner life, not in symbols.
And in any case, I don't see why the encounter between Sulness and Hilda can't be taken at its face value.
Yeah, with, of course, naturally strong sexual connotations to it.
As far as the steeples are concerned, I gather that Ibsen got the idea from something he heard about the master builder of St. Michael's Church in Munich, who threw himself off the roof because he feared it wouldn't hold.
And the truth is that he said that every cathedral in Germany had the same legend. A man cannot build so high without paying the penalty for hubris. You know, I rather fancy that that's what those spires are in the play. His own dramas. I shouldn't wonder Ibsen thought his own work was like a cathedral. He took himself seriously enough. Old Ibsen, challenger of God. His birthday celebrations were like a royal tour.
Come in.
Excuse me, gentlemen, a telegram for Dr. Ibsen.
Don't get up. I'll get it for you. Just don't exert yourself.
It's handed on to the train at Gothenburg.
Thank you.
A week after the Master Builder performance in Norway, the celebrations took Ibsen by train to Denmark. Niels Vogt, editor of the Norwegian journal Morgenbladet, was his companion.
Good news?
Very gratifying. I'm from Copenhagen.
Grand Cross of Dannebrog.
Very satisfying. You know, my dear folks, I can recall, I fancy, several Norwegians who were knights or commanders, but no one, none in my memory, ever received the Grand Cross.
Your program's very full, you know. Several performances. Wild Duck with Betty Hennings.
Again, that production, I've seen it twice. Both with Fröken Henning. She must be almost 50. They're playing a little girl.
But the King and Queen are attending. I'm rather afraid you'll have to be there. The usual banquets and Brand, that's on Sunday.
No, I've never seen it.
We're a little anxious you might be tired by then. The performance lasts 5 hours.
I hardly want to miss it. Astonishing. I never meant it to be a stage. Never imagined it could be. It was a poem. Over 30 years ago. Strange the coincidence. I made the same journey over 30 years ago when I left Norway for Italy, over the Sound to Denmark. Just before I wrote Brand. Norway to the Sound. I hated the theatre. Had to get away from it. Did I ever tell you, my dear folk, how it felt? Getting away that first time, arriving in Italy. Across the Alps in May. There were clouds, thick curtains of cloud over the mountains. We drove through the tunnel. Suddenly we were in the light. Marvelous, strong light of the south. Like white marble. All my work, folks, all of it came from that. Darkness and the light. I always feel it. Over the Sound, out of a tunnel, being released. Like the great statues I saw when we went down through Italy. Michelangelo's breaking out of their stone. I didn't know where to turn, what to do. Not just money, but what to write. Then it happened. One day I went into St. Peter's and I had to go into Rome on some business. And suddenly everything I wanted to say appeared to me in a strong, clear light. So a poem, contemporary theme, angry. My fury at the way we Norwegians had stood aside and watched the Prussians attack Denmark and defeat her. I've been writing all those plays on the glory of our history and our race. I believed that that was what we had to do as writers. And now, all those comfortable Norwegian excuses, convenient, pragmatic reasons not to stand up and fight. That was my Brand. That was what he was against. Brand and his God.
Are you a priest?
A traveling one, like the creatures of the pine wood. I have my house here one day, there the next.
Where are you finally bound for?
You must not ask me that.
Why?
I'm going to a funeral.
Funeral? Who's being buried?
The God you just called yours.
Brand, you are sick.
Oh, no, I'm strong and fit as a mountain pine. It's our sick generation needs a doctor. All you want to do is flirt, play, laugh. You want to unload the whole burden of anguish on one whom we are told paid the supreme penalty. He wore upon his brow the crown of thorns. That's why you're now free to dance. Well, dance on, dance away. Where's your dancing leading you? That, my friend's another matter.
Oh, I see now. This is the new cry. You belong to that group of young people who go about calling life stale and vain. You want to put us all into sackcloth out of fear of hellfire.
No, I'm no preacher. I don't speak as a priest of the church. Indeed, I hardly know if I'm a Christian. But I do know this, I'm a man. And I do know there's a canker devouring the marrow of this land.
Well, this land of ours never did have much of a reputation for the joy of life.
No, our hearts are hardly bursting with joy. If that was so, then all might be well. What matter if you're a slave to joy, just as long as you stay that way? But don't be one thing today and one thing yesterday and something quite different a year from now. Be what you have to be, wholly and completely. Not a little bit here and a little bit there. Just move around this country and listen. Listen to what people have to say. And you'll find that each man's taught himself to be only a bit of everything. A bit solemn when it comes to Sunday, a bit loyal to the ways of his ancestors, a bit randy after supper, for those same ancestors were like that too. A bit sentimental on festive occasions, when songs of praise are sung for the small but sturdy nation that never bowed to an alien lash. A bit lavish with his promises, but also a bit stingy when in the sober light of day he weighs up what he promised. Oh, I must have been drunk, he explains, when the day of reckoning arrives.
Oh, well, I suppose I must admit you're quite right in all your charges against our people. But I still don't see what this has to do with the one you want to bury. The God I still call mine.
My merry friend, you're a painter. Show me the God of whom you speak. You painted him, so I've heard, and the pictures moved men. I expect you made him old, didn't you?
Well...
Oh, of course, and grey, with an old man's bald pate and a long beard like threads of silvery ice. Kindly looking, but forbidding enough to scare the children off to bed with. Did you put him in carpet slippers?
Look here.
I am not joking. The people of this land make of our Lord a doddering old man in his second childhood, but this God is not my God. Mine is a gale where yours is a zephyr. Mine an obdurate judge, yours hard only of hearing. Mine is all love where yours is passion spent. And mine is young. It's like Hercules. Not some old grey beard in his dotage. He would still be working wonders now if only men were not all gutless.
So now you want all men created new?
I am not aiming at anything new. I want to uphold eternal truths. All things created have their measured end. Moth and worm corrupt them, and they give way by nature's law to forms unborn. One thing there is that does prevail and endure, and that is the uncreated spirit, once redeemed from chaos in the first fresh spring of time, and still extending bridges of unalterable faith from banks of flesh to banks of spirit. Now, it's hawked from door to door and cheap thanks to this generation's view of God. But out of these dismembered wrecks of soul, from these truncated torsos of the spirit, these heads, these hands, there shall arise a whole being, so that the Lord may recognize his creature man once more, his greatest masterpiece, his heir, his Adam, powerful, tall, and young.
Go on. Turn the whole world upside down. I shall stick to the God I know.
All right. Paint him with crutches, then. I'm gonna lay him in his grave. Brand was my youth, myself in my best moments.
And Peer Gynt, which is what he wrote next, another long poem. That was the worst of him. Egotism, guilt, drunkenness, the bastard child, the girl he slept with. Trolls, he called them, at war with him in his heart. To write is to sit in judgment on oneself.
One line of argument is that Brand ends in failure too. It's strange that would be the same theme all those years before when he was not yet 40. The sense of a misdirected life. Killed in an avalanche, the ice church that falls on him. The emptiness of a world without love.
Anyone who wants to understand me must know Norway.
He was afraid of heights, frightened of falling rocks and cliffs, frightened of climbing when he went on walks with his friends in Italy, a terror of physical danger. But Brand had made him famous, at least in Scandinavia. As a book, it took 20 years to reach the stage. Ibsen became the leader of the fight against tradition, compromise, the symbol of the call to be oneself. He made money from the book, bought clothes. Immaculate he was, a stickler for etiquette, astonishing for a man who despised convention. But maybe the reason was that inside he was still afraid of drink and bankruptcy. The Ibsens lived on in Italy for 4 years in all. This was the house in Ischia where he wrote Peer Gynt, which was also published as a book, though it didn't do as well as Brand. Again, it was only staged years later. But then in 1868, the family moved to somewhere where their son could go to school, to Germany. They settled in Dresden, the German Florence, a center of culture. For 6.5 years, this was their home.
And where Ibsen began to write an immense play, which is virtually unknown and has hardly ever been performed. Emperor and Galilean. It was to be the great declaration of his life.
Almost 10 years he worked on it, on and off.
And failed. It didn't work, wasn't understood. Nowadays it's almost totally unreadable.
All right, but then he did begin to write plays which were, in fact, performed on the stage.
In ordinary dialogue, colloquial, and that was what was new.
And about contemporary issues. Politics, society, local scandal, cant, hypocrisy.
The League of Youth, a play, in fact, that came before Emperor and Galilean, and Pillars of Society, both, in fact, highly political.
But dishonest, surely, in a way. Wasn't he hedging his bets? I mean, Pillars of Society attacks the right and League of Youth attacks the left.
No, what, in fact, he attacked was corruption, whether it was on the right or the left. Any kind of compromise, double dealing.
And anyway, Ibsen would never belong to any party. He believed too much in the individual. What was it he said? The minority is always right.
Oh, dangerous that. Hints of the iron hand of dictatorship.
No, what he wanted was a revolution. But a revolution of the spirit, not a revolution of the state. In fact, he always denied that he said the minority is always right. That was one of his characters.
I have a horror of the masses. I will not be hemmed in by the scum. I will wait for what time may bring in an immaculate morning coat. Poem by Ibsen.
You missed the point. Brandes got it right. Georg Brandes, the critic. He said the so-called liberals, in effect, all wanted to preserve everything which was fallen, that their ideals belonged to the past. But men like Ibsen wanted to cut down the trees that once sheltered them, which meant they could use them to build bridges, to go forward over what had been destroyed. That was his courage. He was a divider, not a uniter.
And in any case, he loved the fight over the first performance of the League of Youth. Susanna got a letter from Norway about it. It's a terrible row in the theatre, whistles from the gallery, uproar. They had to bring the curtain down in the middle of the play.
But that, in fact, lost him quite a lot of friends. They were convinced he'd gone body and soul over to the right.
But did that really matter to him? And listen to what he wrote to the man you just quoted, Brandes. Friends are an expensive luxury. With a career, you can't afford to keep them. It's not what one does for them, it's what one doesn't do out of consideration for them. That's hardly surprising. He saw his life as a desert when he looked back on it when he was old.
I think, though, all this time he wanted to get back to Norway, now that he was a celebrity with Brand and Peer Gynt and the two political plays.
He did go for a short visit in '74 and again in '85. The students gave him a torchlight procession.
Yes, but he didn't stay. It was too cramped for him, perhaps, too dark.
The old fears again.
Anyway, he was making friends in Germany, and even England. There was a first review of his work in The Spectator by Edmund Goss. That was in 1872.
And then there was that invitation to Austria, to Vienna, to serve on an art jury. Yes, well, I'm afraid he didn't know much about art. He thought all the English paintings were masterpieces. They were sentimental rubbish.
Yeah, nobody knew who he was. They all thought he was a little French lawyer. Never said a word, went off on his own to eat. Wore this black suit and white cravat and kid gloves all the time. And this high black stovepipe hat.
And medals, ribbons in his coat. He got another one that year. He loved them. Obvious, that. Do you know he actually used to write to canvas for decorations? Where is it? I'm anxious for any recognition I can get from Denmark. You've no idea the effect a thing like this can have. Really, the matter is important. And that was Norway's greatest living writer.
Ah, it's arrived.
It was delivered here this afternoon, a messenger from the palace.
20-odd years later, on that birthday tour, when he was 70, the honours mattered just as much.
I hope, sir, that you'll find everything to your complete satisfaction. Please do not hesitate. We here in Copenhagen are very pleased.
Indeed, I'm most obliged.
We're very grateful to you. Dr. Ibsen is, of course, most sensitive to the kindness everyone has shown.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, a beautiful, great honor. Great mark.
Dr. Ibsen... Dr. Ibsen, is anything wrong?
Look at it. Here. Take it, feel it, go. Fool. Don't be a fool. Take that thing.
It's made of...
Paper. Ordinary papier-mâché. It's painted papier-mâché. How could they? In all my experience, how could His Majesty?
Well, there must be some mistake.
Grand Cross.
Sir.
Grand Cross of Dannebrog.
Sir, if you please.
Most distinguished honor.
If I might explain,
What?
sir.
Explain? Oh, yes, please do explain.
I gather, sir, I'm given to understand, sir, that it is the custom, sir, that the honoured recipients of the order do usually acquire the actual decoration themselves at the court jewellers. That is, how shall I put it, a token, sir. A token presented by the state.
Ah, yes, well, I see. Thank you for... I see, well, it's indeed a very great honor.
1875, Dresden to Munich. 1878, Italy for a year again. 1879, back to Munich. 1880, Italy for 5 more years. Restlessness, the exile. Still no return to Norway. Munich he liked. Better air, nearer the Alps. Nearer the little town of Gossensass, where he spent the summers. They actually gave his name to a square in the town later on, with Ibsen as guest of honor, of course. But the point was also that in Munich there were more Norwegians living, more German writers whom he met and liked, and Germany produced his plays as well. Long walks in the city, cafes, restaurants, watching what people did and said, reading the newspapers, beginning to end, every detail, even the advertisements. Material for his plays, against dishonesty in commerce in the pillars of society, against convention and a man's authority in marriage, Doll's House, against the cover-up of sex and shame in Ghosts, against corruption in local politics in Enemy of the People. Ibsen, the critic of society, the fighter for the right to be oneself.
The best way for a man to serve the world is to rate himself high, used to the full all the powers that lie in him. Man's spirit is what needs setting free. I'll never mean by that a freedom that's political. My freedom and my battle for it's a lasting one. For the freedom I mean grows and expands whenever one sets out to grasp it. So in the struggle, if one stops and says, I have it now, all that means is that it's lost. I think there are times when the whole history of the world seems to me but a mighty shipwreck, and the only sane course is to save oneself.
Sit down, Torvald. We two have a lot to talk about.
What is all this?
Sit down. It'll take time. I have a lot to say.
A Doll's House, 1879. The play everyone took to be a plea for women's rights.
You frighten me, Nora. I don't understand.
Exactly. You don't understand me. And I've never understood you either. Till tonight. No,
Nora.
don't interrupt me. Just listen to what I have to say. We are going to have things out.
What do you mean?
Isn't there anything that strikes you about the way we two are sitting here?
What should?
We've been married now 8 years. Hasn't it struck you that in all that time, you and I, man and wife, have never once had a serious talk together?
Depends what you mean by serious.
8 whole years. Longer. Ever since we first met. We've never exchanged one serious word about things that matter.
Did you want me to involve you in worries you couldn't have helped me with?
I'm not talking about worries. I'm saying we've never once sat down and seriously tried to get to the bottom of anything.
My dear Nora, now, would that have been right for you?
Oh, that is just it. You have never understood me. I've been greatly wronged, Torvald. First by my father, and then by you.
We are the two people who loved you more than anyone else.
You've never loved me. You only thought how nice it was to be in love with me.
Nora, what are you saying?
It's right, you know, Torvald. At home, Papa used to tell me what he thought, and I thought the same. If I did have my own point of view about anything, I kept quiet about it, because he wouldn't have liked it. He called me his baby doll. He used to play with me, just the way I played with my dolls. And then I came to live in your house.
What kind of a way is that to talk about our marriage?
What I mean is, I passed out of Papa's hands into yours. You arranged everything to your tastes. And I acquired the same tastes. Or I pretended to. I don't really know. I think it was a bit of both. Now I look back, I seem to have been living here like a beggar. From hand to mouth. I've lived by doing tricks for you, Torvald. But that's the way you wanted it. Oh, you and Papa have done me a great wrong. It's your fault I've never made anything of my life.
Nora, how can you be so unreasonable, ungrateful? Now, haven't you been happy here?
I thought I was. But not really.
Not happy?
No. Just cheerful. Oh, you've always been very kind. But this house has never been anything but a playroom, Torvald. I've been your doll wife. Just as I was Papa's doll child. And the children have been my dolls. I used to think it was fun when you came in and played with me. Just as they thought it was fun when I went and played with them. That's what our marriage has been, Torvald. That's why I'm leaving you.
What did you say?
If I'm ever to reach any understanding of myself and of the things around me, I must learn to stand alone. That's why I can't stay with you any longer.
And leave your home, your husband, and your children? Don't you care what people will say?
It's no concern of mine. All I know is this is necessary. For me.
This is outrageous. You are betraying your sacred duty.
And what do you consider that to be?
But do I really have to tell you? Your duty to your husband and your children.
I have another duty, equally sacred.
And what might that be?
My duty to myself.
First and foremost, you are a wife and a mother.
I don't believe that any longer. I believe that first and foremost, I'm an individual. Just like you. Or anyway, that what I have to do is try to be one. That's the end of it.
And the door is slammed shut. She leaves him. There's no compromise.
He had to rewrite the ending for the German stage. They couldn't take it.
Imagine a woman walking out on her children and her husband in the 1880s.
It was the play that made him famous outside Scandinavia and Germany, England, America, France eventually. Shaw wrote his book about Ibsen based on a lecture he gave on Doll's House.
But I really rather wonder whether Ibsen was really so keen in the end on women's rights. I mean, I know he had a wife who was interested in the subject, and I gather he tried to get women voting rights in the Scandinavian club in Rome. He failed, of course. He was furious when he found out that the women he'd been trying to help had actually intrigued against him. It was quite a scene when he found that out.
Yes, but you see, I think in the end, Doll's House is about much more than a woman's position in marriage. I think it's about the tyranny of one human being over another. No matter how much the status of women might have improved, I mean, that is still as relevant as ever.
But wouldn't the point have been made much stronger if the husband hadn't been such an ineffectual character? I mean, who really has any concern for him at the end? And that's another thing that Ibsen is criticised for nowadays. His characters, especially his minor ones, they're like ciphers to a mechanism, to his general idea, to the plot. They're not living beings. There's no humanity.
Not true. He was a master at recording human nature, and in particular, human fallibility.
I think he probably knew what he was writing about. Well, it's sad to say, but there were times when he was only too fallible himself. Like the time he refused a favour to the woman whose story he'd based Doll's House on. When it appeared, someone accused her of acting on purely selfish, material grounds. Like Nora in the play. She committed forgery to get money to save her sick husband's life. Now, Ibsen knew the truth, but he wouldn't speak out and defend her.
You see, he didn't want to get involved.
But he did. In his work, he did. His plays involved him. Now, take The Courage of Ghosts, where the action turns on a character's syphilis.
Well, actually, someone recently suggested that it was schizophrenia.
Well, it's not mentioned in so many words, but at the time people assumed it was syphilis. You can hardly call dealing with a subject like that cowardice. There's even a suggestion at one point that incest might be permissible under certain circumstances.
Yes, I know. When it was first published, the booksellers refused to sell it. They sent their copies back.
And one English critic called the play a dirty act done publicly. Alas, poor Ibsen, one of his friends in England wrote.
Oh, Dr. Ibsen. Oh, dear Dr. Ibsen, do they provide no food? Do let me go and fetch you something.
No, no, no.
I absolutely insist.
No, my dear lady.
Just wait there. I'll be back immediately.
The shambles of that Copenhagen visit still continued. For the evening's performance of The Wild Duck, birthday gala that it was, and despite the royal audience, king, queen, and 2 princesses, no one had thought to get poor Ibsen anything to eat.
Oh, my dear folk, protect me from that woman.
Where's she gone?
To get me a sandwich.
God almighty, how typically Danish. They didn't lay on any food.
I think she's determined enough to find me some.
Not surprising. She's president of the Copenhagen Ladies' Club. She much admires your doll's house.
They all do. Maybe she'll be a little less keen about this evening.
How so?
Well, Wild Duck's hardly an attempt at social criticism. I'd learned not to make universal demands on people when I wrote it.
Ibsen! My dear old Ibsen! Remember me? How are you? How are you? Oh, excuse me.
May I have the pleasure?
You're a right one, you are. You showed them what's what. That's what you did. Let me embrace you.
Take care.
No, you deserve it. For the sake of all us liberals, Ibsen, old man, I here salute you.
Well, that's enough.
I think so.
Quite enough, sir.
You, good luck tonight. More power to your elbow.
Who was that?
No idea at all.
Obviously one of your liberals.
Typical. I showed them what indeed. They realize how I despised them, so-called liberals. The way they step in and make demands on others. Intolerable idealists.
Like your brand?
Indeed. That was so long ago and they changed. And even then, Brand wanted to change the spirit, not society. But with the years, folks, I saw it's only the individual that matters. Human beings, their wounds, what they suffer. Maybe even their dreams help their self-deceptions rather than the truth. I really don't know.
Ah, that's for the king and queen. Won't be long now.
I hope they get the lighting right. They never understand. So every act, it must be different. Have you ever thought, my dear folk, how people speak differently at night from in the morning? It's like women and men.
I don't think I follow.
You just listen sometime. Men end a remark with a single syllable. Women use words of 2 or 3.
Shall we try it now?
It won't work, of course. Not this time.
I got this for you, Dr. Ibsen. I do hope it'll be all right.
Kind. Thank you very much indeed, madame.
Good evening.
You know Herr Vogt, I believe.
Of course. Good evening.
Maybe we should be going in.
Yes. How marvellous. So very exciting for me. Really it is, Dr. Ibsen. Another great clarion call for progress.
I'm not sure the truth isn't better than that sort of dream.
Your Majesties, Your Royal Highnesses, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, the Royal Theatre, Copenhagen, has the honor to mark the 70th birthday of Henrik Ibsen by presenting tonight their 31st performance of his celebrated play, The Wild Duck.
Gina, I want to know something. I want to know if your child has the right to live under my roof.
Hjalmar, You asked me that.
I want a straight answer. Is Hedvig mine, or...
I don't know. How should I know? You know what I was? What happened?
And I have nothing more to do in this house.
Hjalmar Ekdal, the dreamer, who suspects his child is not his own. Gina, his wife, who's had an affair before their marriage. Gregor Zehler, the idealist, who's told Ekdal about all this, who wants him to base his life on truth, not lies.
I have no child.
What are you saying? Daddy, Daddy!
Oh, there now, Hedvig.
The child, Hedvig, who doesn't understand why her father has turned against her. And always, behind everything, the wild duck in the attic. That attic where Ekdal's father pretends, goes shooting to prove he's still the man he was, where the wild duck lies wounded, cut off from its own real life, the struggle in the wild. The bird that the child loves, but which was a gift from the man who might have fathered her.
Don't come near me, Hedvig. Go away right away. I can't bear to look at you. Oh, those eyes.
No! No, don't leave.
Look at the child, Hjalmar. Look at her.
I won't. I can't. Let me go. I must get out.
He's leaving us, Mother. He's leaving us. He's never coming back again.
Oh, don't you fret now. Your father's coming back all right.
No. No, he's never coming back to us again.
You do believe, Fru Ekdal, that I meant it all for the best. I said all that. I did what I did for the best.
I dare say you did. God forgive you all the same.
Oh, I feel as though I want to die. Oh. What have I done? Mother, you must make him come back home.
Yes, yes. Now, you just be quiet, and I'll go out and I'll see if I can see him. But you mustn't sit here crying now. Now, you promise me?
Yes, I'll stop crying. As long as Daddy comes home.
Yes.
I promise.
Wouldn't it be better to let him alone? Let him try to come to terms with everything.
You can do that later. The child comes first. You must try and get her quietened down.
Tell me. Tell me what's the matter. Tell me why Daddy doesn't want to see me anymore.
You mustn't ask that till you've grown up, Hedvig.
But I can't wait till I'm grown up. Can't be unhappy all those years. I know what it is. Maybe I'm not really Daddy's child.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, Mum may have just found me. I've read about that sort of thing. And Daddy may have just found out.
Yes, but even so.
Still, I think he'd be just as fond of me if that were true. Even more. Like the wild duck. She was sent to me as a present, and I'm just as fond of her.
Yes. The wild duck. That's right. Let us have a little talk, Hedvig. Let us talk about your wild duck.
Poor little wild duck. Daddy can't bear to look at her anymore either. He wanted to kill her. He wanted to wring her neck.
Oh, I'm sure he wouldn't do that.
No, but that's what he said. And I thought it was dreadful. Because I say a prayer for her every night. And I ask that she should be protected from death and anything bad.
Do you always say your prayers? Every night?
Yes.
Who taught you that?
I taught myself. It was once. When Daddy was very ill. And he said that he was going to die.
What happened?
I said a prayer for him when I went to bed. And I've gone on ever since.
And now you pray for the wild duck?
I thought I'd better include the wild duck too. Because when she came, she was so weak.
And do you say your prayers in the morning too?
No,
course not.
Why not, Hedvig?
It's light in the mornings. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore.
And your wild duck, which you love so much, your father wants to kill it.
No. He said if he had his way, he would. But he wasn't going to because of me. That was kind of him.
Supposing, Hedvig, supposing you offered to sacrifice the wild duck for him.
The wild duck?
Yes, Hedvig. Just suppose you gave up, just for him, the most precious thing you have in this world.
Would that help?
Try it.
The wild duck?
Without telling anyone, Hedvig.
Give up the wild duck?
Have you got the strength of mind? Do you think you have, Hedvig, to do it?
Yes. I think so.
There's a shot.
It's the wild duck.
Where's Hedvig?
She wanted to give it up.
But why?
For you. She wanted to give up the thing she loved best in the world.
For me?
To make you love her, Hjalmar.
But Hedvig, where are you?
And so she has shot the wild duck.
Oh, my God. What is it?
It's Hedvig.
Hedvig. Oh, no.
On the floor.
My little girl. Oh, my little girl.
She shot herself. You, Gregers Werle, you come to the door with the claim of the ideal. But in this house we are too poor.
The life lie, the saving lie, is a principle of life. Take it away from the average man, and you take away his happiness.
Dr. Ibsen, you must be so proud. A real triumph.
Of course, they didn't know what to make of it at first.
Even Edmund Goss said he found Wild Duck hard to understand. And all the plays thereafter. Very obscure they were.
Yes, but they're the ones that nowadays he's most admired for.
And Bernard Shaw got it right. Ibsen was attacking the Ibsenites, the people who'd taken the superficial doctrines of his earlier work and set themselves up as idealists. That's why they were puzzled. They thought he was writing a satire on his earlier work.
Yes, his point was that change should come from within, not without. No one outside can free anyone from his failings.
Classical psychoanalysis.
Yes, but not bad for his time. And his idea of the life lie, the saving lie. Like the attic where old Ekdal pretends he's a hunter, where the wild duck lives. How it was dangerous to destroy that lie. Fatal for the child.
He said it was a very different play from what he'd done before.
The symbolism, I imagine.
Well, effective symbolism. The wild duck, how it acts like a magnet, how everything revolves round it, how everything relates to it.
But the story still has the same old familiar Ibsen pattern. Small-time gossip and gradual revelation of skeletons in the cupboard. I mean, it's not so very different in format from those thumping melodramas of the 18th century, 19th century popular theatre that you said he broke away from.
Oh, no, totally different.
Really? The pistol shot at the end? And what about the characters? Old Hjalmar, the girl's father, for whom it's difficult to find a name more charitable than Booby. That was a critic writing last year.
Oh, well, look, even your Mary McCarthy admits Wild Duck is a near masterpiece.
The different layers of meaning. The image of the bird diving down when it's wounded, hiding in the mud, trying to avoid life. And then the dog bringing it up to the surface. Like the idealist, Gregers Werle. Dragging up the past, raking up secrets, hurting everyone in the process.
And then the duck in the attic, growing fat and comfortable away from its habitat. No reality, none of the struggle of life.
Ibsen himself. Well, it's possible, isn't it? Cut off from ordinary life by his writing, protected by his wife, not really involved, not really living.
I began to think that all this business about the mission of the artist was all so much empty, meaningless talk. Meaningless.
I'm sorry.
Oh, nothing.
Dr. Ibsen, maybe you ought to come back.
When do we see what we have lost? When we dead awaken. And then what do we see? That we have never lived.
The return to Norway came in 1891, when he was 63. The Wild Duck had been written in Rome. Rosmersholm, his next play, in Munich again. The Lady from the Sea as well. Hedda Gabler, maybe his most famous play, also in Munich. The year after that was written, 1891, he returned on holiday to Norway, never intending to make it his home. But he stayed till the end of his life. He was a celebrity. Witness the cartoons and caricatures in Norway and abroad. There had been an Ibsen festival in Vienna, performances in Hungary, in London, which he never visited, in Paris, in Germany, of course. There were press interviews when he arrived back in Norway, a trip north. Maybe the scenery persuaded him to stay in his own country. Maybe the Ibsens just wanted to be near their son, who was beginning a diplomatic career there. Anyhow, he and Susanna, who was now crippled with gout and rheumatism, found a flat in Christiania. He had his daily ritual, a walk to the university to check the time on his watch, a corner in the Grand Hotel where he had his own table, which no one would have dreamt of occupying. When he entered, everyone rose as if at the arrival of a monarch. Then he would take his place, settle down to reading, resenting any interruption. He was now a public institution. Of all the paintings done of his plays as well as himself, perhaps the most extraordinary are by the great Norwegian painter Edvard Munch. His hair and beard stand out like flames, like some Jehovah, some divinity. Such were the rewards of fame. Such, sometimes, the penalties.
You must be tired.
No.
It's been over a fortnight.
I've never been ill in my life. Never once had to call in a doctor. I don't intend to give way now. And I see no reason to suppose a mere 2 weeks' journey is going to do any harm to my health or energy.
They are trying.
Get me another brandy, Fort. Rescue me when I look too trapped. Oh, by the way, Fort. Do you know who that is?
Rosa Fittinghoff. Her mother's Laura Fittinghoff, the novelist. Children's book.
Strange. I seem to recognize something. Her hair.
Would you like to meet her?
It's very much. Look at them. They're all their life ahead of them. Go on.
The final lap of the birthday tour was Sweden. A reception at the palace, performances, banquets, and on the last night, because the ladies had felt left out, a dinner arranged by 2 Stockholm women's clubs.
Dear Dr. Ibsen, may I introduce? This is Fru Linde and Fröken Hulberg.
Very great pleasure. Honored.
Fru Linde's been telling me how much she was impressed with your doll's house.
It changed my life, Dr. Ibsen. I'd never even thought about women's rights until I saw Doll's House.
I fear, madam, I've never quite understood what people mean by women's rights.
There you are, Emma. My friend takes things so terribly seriously, Dr. Ibsen.
Really?
Well, you must admit, Emma, you never cared to be amused.
Whereas I take it, madam, you do.
Well, yes.
You don't care to be alone.
No. What a terrible thought.
And avoid too much thought about yourself.
Well, yes. You see, I've always thought that too much self-preoccupation was a little unhealthy.
Frau Linda, I must congratulate you. Most people go to the theatre as they go to a party or the beach, to be amused, to avoid thinking about themselves. I think you understand that's not been my intention.
Oh, no, indeed, you have done wonders, Dr. Ibsen. A new religion, freedom from guilt, self-fulfillment, a new society.
Madam, if I had my way, I'd prefer to be remembered as a poet.
I must remember that. Marvelous, don't you think, Helga? Really marvelous. Emma, will you forgive us, Dr. Ibsen? I have to make quite sure that Fru Linda meets our vice president before the evening's out.
Very great pleasure.
Helga, you stay and keep Dr. Ibsen company.
I gather you were received at the palace, Dr. Ibsen.
Yes, indeed.
Well, do please tell me what His Majesty said.
He said I shouldn't have written ghosts.
Oh, dear. No, quite.
I told him I had to.
Yes, quite. Quite.
You do know what Ghosts is about, don't you?
Yes. But I'm afraid I hadn't seen it.
I wonder, can you perhaps tell me something?
Oh, yes, of course. I'd be delighted. How can I be of help?
Can I get to Christiania direct by night train, or do I have to change?
Excuse me.
Ah.
Dr. Ibsen.
Thank you.
There's someone I'd like you to meet.
Of course. A very great pleasure.
Honored, Dr. Ibsen. Most delighted.
This is Fröken Frittinghoff. Fröken? Dr. Ibsen.
I saw you a moment ago. You reminded me of someone.
Oh, may I guess?
Of course.
Someone in one of your plays?
You've been to them.
Who has?
That's very kind.
It was the master builder.
That's right.
The girl in it, Hilda Wangel.
It's quite right. Far less dangerous, I'm sure.
My mother talks a lot about you.
Ah, yes, she's a writer, I gather. I'm afraid we haven't met.
She says you're the king. Of writers, I mean. Is that funny?
No. Very flattering. Just that it reminds me.
Of what?
Oh, I shouldn't tell you.
Oh, please do.
You promise not to repeat it to anyone, not even to your mother?
I promise.
Just that the other day at the palace, your king said something very similar. We two kings. Not ridiculous, don't you think?
Oh, I don't see why.
You're not a member of the society, are you?
No, of course not.
That's right. I never really felt comfortable in any society.
Why not?
They're not for writers. We're too wild. We need to be. Wild as we can be. May I ask you a favor? Would you send me a photograph?
But of course.
You have very beautiful hair.
I'd be pleased to, Dr. Ibsen.
Strange. The way one always meets the nicest people the day before one leaves.
Your wife didn't come with you?
No, I'll see her when I get back. She's very often ill.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Finds it hard to travel.
Sad.
Yes, indeed.
My mother...
Yes?
My mother said... Oh, well, perhaps I shouldn't say this, but... Well, we went last year to see John Gabriel Borkman when it opened here, and my mother said how sad it was, the picture you painted of marriage in that play. How sad that it was so dark.
And what do you think?
Oh, well, it was very dark. Those two women and the old man. It was very sad.
Now, when we look back, you know, we all feel this when we get old. You can't know this yet, of course. We all hurt a lot of people to get what we want. Or just leave so much undone for the sake of the work. When I saw you talking to that young man, I felt suddenly maybe you'd write to me. Just a line or two occasionally.
But of course.
To keep away the cold. Old John Gabriel, that's what he died of. The cold.
A cold heart.
Would you come to the station tomorrow to see us off? It would be very pleasant to see you again before I leave.
If I can.
I hope so.
Good night, Dr. Ibsen.
Good night.
Old goat.
Not fair. He never did anything about these flirtations.
He was too frightened. He was probably frightened of sex altogether. They say he wouldn't even undress in front of his own doctor. Now, surely that proves some kind of sexual hang-up.
Anyway, she was the last of the girls he fell for in those final years. Susanna was away a lot to have treatment for her gout. Poor woman. The gossips were actually saying the Ibsens were living apart, going to divorce even.
She was told about it, wrote to him, he wrote back, reassured her. He would never have taken such a step.
But this was happening when he was writing John Gabriel Borkman. And all his last plays, Master Builder, Little Eyolf, Borkman, When We Dead Awaken, they have all at their base a relationship that's gone sour.
Yes, I agree they are. All about people who are dead inside, who have no love left in them. Maybe the girls he met represented a real regret for the past, for missing out on certain things in life.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that the Ibsens' marriage was like the Borkmans. There was affection in it.
No passion.
No passion. But not the cold hatred in the play.
What about the other things in the play? The arrogance. I mean, Borkman, the egotist, all this talk about his lost kingdom, it's obviously Ibsen again. Spires in Master Builder and kingdoms in Borkman. What a conception to have of oneself.
Incorrect. It's actually the opposite. The play is full of guilt. It's an attack on egotism, on the way John Gabriel has destroyed his own past and the women who loved him. Now, what did Henry James say about Ella? Ibsen has given us for the most touching and beautiful of his heroines, a sad old maid of 60.
And there was another marvellous comment on the play by the painter Munch. He called John Gabriel Borkman the most powerful winter landscape in the whole of Scandinavian art.
Come, Ella. I want to show you something.
What do you want to show me, John?
Look at the land. How it lies. How it lies open and free in front of us. Far into the distance.
We often used to sit on this bench and look out even further.
It was a land of dreams we were looking at.
Yes, our dreamland. And now it's covered in snow. The old tree is dead.
Old Borkman, the miner's son, become banker, guilty of embezzlement to fulfill his dreams of power, of a kingdom, of wresting from the earth the mineral wealth to bring prosperity to others. 13 years of guilt. 8 in prison, 5 cut off from his wife and son. Guilty to himself for the harm he brought on his family, guilty to himself because he failed. Ella, the woman years ago he loved, yet sacrificed to his ambition. gave to the man who helped him to gain power. Ella, twin sister to the woman Borkman actually married, the wife who now feels only hatred, shame, and scorn for him.
Can you see the smoke from the big steamships on the fjord?
No.
I can. They come and they go. They bring nations together. They bring light and warmth to the hearts of men in many thousands of different homes. That's what I dreamed of achieving.
And it remained a dream.
Yes, it remained a dream. Listen. Down there by the river, the factories at work. My factories. Factories I would have created working full out. And day and night they work. Wheels spinning and rollers turning and turning. Can't you hear them, Ella?
No.
I hear them.
I don't think you can, John.
All these. Only the outworks around the kingdom, you know.
What kingdom?
My kingdom, of course. It's the kingdom I was about to take possession of when I died.
John.
It lies. It's defenseless, masterless. It's open to thieving and plundering and attack, Ella. Look at those mountains, far away. Range beyond range. That is my vast, my infinite, my inexhaustible kingdom.
But it's an icy wind that blows from that kingdom, John.
To me, it's the breath of life. It comes like a greeting from loyal spirits. I sense them. Those captive millions. I feel like veins of metal stretching out their twisting, beckoning arms to me. You wanted to be freed. I tried, but I failed. And your treasures sank back into the depths. But let me whisper this to you, here in the stillness of the night. I love you. You who lie in a trance of death deep down in the dark. I love you. You and your treasures that crave life. And all your bright retinue of power and glory. I love you. Love you. Love you. Love you.
Yes. Your love is still down there. It always has been. But up here, in the daylight, there was a warm, living heart beating for you. You broke that heart. Worse, you sold it.
For the kingdom, power, and the glory.
That is what I mean. You murdered love in the woman who loved you and whom you loved in return. Therefore I prophesy, John Gabriel Borkman, that you will never collect the price you demanded for that murder. You will never enter triumphant into your cold kingdom.
I fear you're right, Ella.
Oh, you must not fear that, John. It is the best that could happen to you. What was it? John.
It's a hand of ice. No, it's not ice. It's a hand of iron.
I'll go.
better for you. John Cape. It's better so.
So the night air killed him, that strong man.
I think, Gunhild, it was the cold.
The cold? That killed him long ago.
And turned us into shadows.
Yes.
One dead man and two shadows. That is what the cold has done.
Are you pleased?
Why pleased?
Pleased to be back.
What?
Pleased to be back home.
Relieved, I suppose.
On the 17th of April, 1898, Ibsen had returned to Christiania. That tour had been his last journey abroad. The play he'd been thinking about, composing in his mind, When We Dead Awaken, would also be his last. And it was also about a return. An old man back in his native Norway.
There was a visit from Mr. Archer today.
Well, from England? He's here. Why didn't you tell me?
Well, I thought you shouldn't be disturbed. You were so tired and working.
I'd like to see him.
Well, he said he would call again tomorrow. I said that would be better. You would be more rested.
As you wish.
He noticed your Bible. I said you read it for the language. Did I do right?
Of course.
So you are glad?
To be back.
Yes.
No way. Of course.
When we came back, the night we traveled up on the train, I remember how silent it was at all the little places we stopped. I heard the silence. Then I knew we'd crossed the frontier. Now we were home. Because at every little wayside halt, the train stopped and stood silent. Nobody was waiting for it. Nobody got off and nobody got on. The train just stood there absolutely silent for what seemed like an eternity. And at every station, I heard two rare women walking the platform. One of them had a lamp in his hand, talking to each other, softly, tonelessly, meaninglessly, far into the night, about nothing.
You know, you ought to rest more. I wish you would see a doctor.
I will, but there's nothing wrong with me.
No. But it's not a bad idea to make sure. These last weeks have been very demanding.
I'm perfectly all right.
You need your strength for the play.
You need your strength. If ever...
If ever what?
If ever anything should happen to you. No, Suzanne, I'm serious. You don't believe me, do you? I don't know what I should do if ever...
Nonsense.
Do you remember what you answered when I asked you if you'd follow me out into the wide, wide world?
I promised I would follow you to the end of the earth and to the end of life.
You gave me 4 years of your youth.
More. I gave you my most precious gift.
What gift was that?
I gave you my soul, young and alive, and left myself empty, soulless. That is what I died of.
It's late. And you have to meet Mr. Archer tomorrow.
rest of them?
No, only him. I must let you have time to work.
All these lovings and hatings.
I'm sorry,
Nothing.
but then I think I'll go to bed.
Good night.
Oh, by the way, do you know what little Ellen Sontum said the other day? She saw you coming out onto the veranda and was bitterly disappointed.
Why?
She took one look at you and said, "Is that the great man? But he isn't big at all." Why do you sit there with your eyes turned from me?
I dare not look at you.
Why not?
You have a shadow tormenting you, and I a conscience.
When We Dead Awaken was finished a year after those celebrations for Ibsen's birthday. It's the story of a sculptor, Rubek, back in his native Norway, famous, but at the expense of his own happiness, disenchanted with his life, his work, and his young wife. By chance, he meets Irena, the woman who once inspired him. She's half demented by the notion that he's killed her spirit, never really loved her, only used her as the model for his masterpiece, a sculpture called The Day of Resurrection.
After I had served you with my soul and my body, and the sculpture was completed, our child, as you called it, I laid at your feet the dearest sacrifice I could make. I removed all trace of myself.
Left my life a desert. Why did you do this? Jealousy?
No. Hatred, I think.
Hatred of me?
Yes, of you. Of the artist, who calmly and casually took a warm, living body, a young human life, and tore the soul out of it because you needed it to make a work of art.
You hated the artist in me.
I hated you because you could stand there so unmoved.
Unmoved?
Or so maddeningly in control of yourself because you were an artist. Merely an artist. Not a man. But that statue, in wet and living clay, that I loved. That was our creation, our child, mine and yours.
I am an artist, Irene. I'm not ashamed of those human frailties I have. I was born to be an artist. I'll never be anything else.
You are a poet, Arnold.
Why call me poet?
Because there is something self-exonerating about that word, my friend. Forgiving all sins and drawing a veil over every weakness. But I was a human being then. I, too, had a life to live. And I put it aside to serve you. It was suicide. I should never have served you, poet.
But they were wonderful times, Irene. Do you remember the summer we sat outside the little farmhouse beside the town at Cézanne?
On Saturday evenings, yes. After we had finished our work for the week.
We traveled down by train and stayed there over Sunday.
Oh, it was a beautiful life on the town at Cézanne. And yet, we let it slip through our fingers.
Is it too late to find it again?
Look, Arnold. The sun is setting behind the mountains. See how it catches on the heather, turns it red.
a long time since I watched the sunset in the mountain.
Or a sunrise?
I don't think I've ever seen a sunrise.
Oh. Well, I once saw the most marvelously beautiful sunrise.
Where was that?
High. High up on a soaring mountain peak. You led me up there and promised you would show me all the glories of the world
if...
I did as you said. Followed you up to the heights, fell on my knees and worshipped you and served you. And then I saw the sunrise.
Summer night on a mountain.
Would you like to spend a summer night on the mountain with me?
Will you, Irene?
Yes, Arnold, I will.
Summer night on the mountain with you, Irene, could have been our life. And we let it slip by.
We only see what we have lost.
When?
When we dead awaken.
Then what do we see?
That we have never lived.
Go up the mountain, through the mist and the snow. And then suddenly, far up above, there's a sound like thunder. The snowfield collapses and falls. And Rubeck and the woman with whom he wants to find his life again are caught and buried in the snow.
Will you come with me?
I will.
Through the mists.
Through the mists, and then up to the top of the tower, where it shines in the sunrise.
Anyone who wants to understand me must know Norway, those winters and those mists. Oh, how they long for the sun.
That play was his final account with himself. To reject love is to reject life.
But the dead awaken when a body dies.
And to that extent, it is a message of hope.
James Joyce, who was a very young man then, thought that it could be Ibsen's greatest play. And he wrote in a poem he called Epiphanies, only a few months after reading it, the following words. Excuse the accent. Here he is himself, in a coat with tails and an old-fashioned high hat. He walks along with tiny steps, jutting out the tails of his coat. My goodness, how small he is. He must be very old and vain. But then, he's the greatest man on earth.
Henrik Ibsen died on the 23rd of May, 1906. He'd suffered 2 strokes before, the second of which had left him helpless. His wife outlived him for another 8 years. A few days before her death, she said, "Ibsen had no steel in his character. It was I who gave it him.